folks, and welcome to this episode of Shallibodhran. And this is more of a request video. I had a question from Melanie Baker, and thank you, Melanie, for sending it in. And the question is based on, and since we've been lately putting up videos on double-ended playing, I thought I would answer this because I rather like it because I do suffer from it from time to time. The question is, and here's the situation: Melanie plays a lot and only uses the double-ended methods. Great method, but often complains of rubbing and friction pain from the wood on the tipper. And this is similar, it's a little bit narrower than the tipper that Melanie had sent me. Hers is a sort of like the one you would get from Walton's. It's like a straight piece with the two ball ends, but the two ball ends are a lot larger than this is. This is a lot smaller by comparison. So the problem is she's getting pain, and her grip is the pen grip. So I'm going to come up real close for it. That's her grip. And she's getting, from continuous playing, and I bet some of you, if not a lot of you who use that sort of grip, notice that it's rubbing on something. And because I have an elastic band around here, it's even more pronounced in some cases because it's rubbing right on that interior section. Now, unless you develop a little bit of a skin thickening or a little bit of a callus, there is going to be some annoyance to it. And there are a bunch of ways around it while maintaining the double-ended playing. You can also try other methods of using, putting a different sort of grip there. One thing that I do sometimes is that if I'm using the pen grip, I don't like to change my grip. I actually like the use of the elastic bands. But what I do instead is, instead of gripping it this way, get a nice close-up of that, I grip it this way. So instead of gripping at the side where it's resting here, hopefully that makes a little more sense, it's actually resting like a ball socket joint, like this. And then this is on top. What I end up getting is 3 points of contact, but I'm not having it rub up in the same way that I have it resting against. One is resting behind, it's the middle finger here. And now it can still rub against it, whereas if I hold it underneath first, I'm now not in contact in that same spot sort of idea. So it doesn't change the playing at all. So this is the other way, the first way. Here's the second way. It doesn't change, it's just a different feeling. It's pretty much the same idea, right? Another way of doing it, you can develop things from single end playing with a lot of the baby grip stuff. But you can do that, just grip lower. I find that gripping on top of that extra friction point that was causing the pain in the first place can sometimes actually be really good because you have extra friction there. And some Bodhran players will actually have 2 points of contact. Even Murray's one player who does that, and you can sometimes see it. He's got like almost minimal amounts of contact, just enough to get the thing moving and being lively in his fingers. In this case, you can adapt it like the baby grip, and then you just turn it as per normal. It's the same sort of motion, so you're not changing your wrist motion, except you're not putting that bend as you do the triple. So hit, 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 triple. It's going to be hit, 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 triple. And the wrist is even straighter. For those of you who like using the baby grip and are single end players or fusion players, we're at the 4/5, and I'm going to grip this a little bit lower. It's nice because you still have the ability to just angle the arm because you have a play from here and then it rolls out. There's no real appreciable bend in the wrist unlike that. Another way of getting around it is, a gentleman had posted this recently on Facebook, and I forget his name, holds it this way. He's got a real interesting sort of grip there. But there's a benefit to that because he's got the 1 point and the 2 points like the pen grip. He just happens to steady it from the bottom. I personally don't like that grip because I tend to slide a little out on it, but with a little ingenuity, maybe if I moved my grip a little higher here so that it spins and presses up against it. It feels very comfortable if you're a bottom end player. If you're someone who prefers that, it's actually worth trying because it seems to put the pressure in the right spot as you're playing down and provides absolutely no slippage against any sort of friction happening against your fingers. So you won't have to worry too much. The last thing I can think about is sort of like I call the thumb lock. So you're holding it this way so that it's more of a hit like that, okay? Like that. It's this sort of hit. But instead of, and I normally did video where it's single end, sort of almost like John Joe Kelly's stuff, almost. It's a little bit. You know, it's nice because you get a good crack out of it, but you can also use it for the more carry style of stuff where it's in the middle. And I'm not particularly good at it, but or some variation, maybe you're gripping it sort of in the middle. But the difference between that and the thumb lock is that you only need 2 points of contact. The rest is just there. I can actually tuck everything in like that. And I just let that, because you already have your 3 points of contact, 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. That's simulating this. You have all this extra weight. The difficult thing about that, though, and it's harder when you're doing it double-ended, is that you may have to lower it. So if I actually turn it upside down and grip at the lower, what this means is I can get closer and hit. And I can, see, there's no appreciable bend in the wrist when I'm hitting. Again, that's similar to the whole playing this way. And I really hate playing this way so much so that I've lost my ability to play it like that. But anyway, the thumb lock is nice because it provides, I think it's better for single-ended playing. It's just so easy. But if you're doing a more of a double-ended, it's nice because you can also get more swing up on the top too. And you can play with the anthropometrics of it. And that was horrible, but you can try to develop different anthropometrical movements. So if you're normally someone who hit off that way, maybe this makes more sense to off the front or off the bottom. The benefit I find with double-ended playing in general is that if you are doing strikes off the front here, you actually can get more control and keep it rolling a little bit easier than the single-ended method. The single-ended method just doesn't like to do that unless it's sort of like in the Ronan O'Snody video where you have the whole. requires a lot of very delicate work. The double-ended doesn't really as much. You can just go up and down and play. And this technique here where it's strike down, up, up. So if you wanted to put that in something, actually use it a bunch of different ways, and it makes it way easier than using any sort of single-ended technique. It's also smoother and it's faster. The downside to it is that it's also requiring more energy than this, which is fine-tuning your ability to skip rather than to muscle it through. So to avoid that sort of stripping yourself from the pen grip, one thing you may want to try is just changing your type of little grip adapter here. Changing your grip. So the baby grip does away with any sort of friction on the fingers, as does a double-ended method of the thumb lock grip. You can be very creative in how you're holding it. I get people who sort of give it the snare drummer's hold, like that, and they're playing this way. But the important thing is to get or to simulate into a three-point contact, and you can kind of get away with that. The downside to it, even though you lose the pain, is that you gain the frustration of having to relearn things all over again to some degree. So retuning the balance of it, because it feels very different. It's amazing how small movements of the fingers change the weight of the spinning center of this mass as it's traveling around the drum. So give it a shot and see how it feels. And ultimately your body is going to tell you what feels good. So give it a shot. I hope this helps. And thanks again for sending in the message about that annoyance. And if there's anyone out there, and is it Michelle Braithwaite who sometimes I talk with? I think she knows a little bit more about the kinesiology of the human hand. I could be incorrect, and if I can find her info, I'll post it underneath. If not, try to find her on the Bodhran website, and hopefully your playing is a little less painful and a little more enjoyable. So until next time, have a good one. Bye.